Hello, and welcome to this presentation on Keith Stanovich, presented by Megan Shoemaker. According to Keith Stanovich's website, quote, Keith E. Stanovich is Emeritus Professor of Applied Psychology and Human Development at the University of Toronto and former Canada Research Chair of Applied Cognitive Science. He is the author of over 200 scientific articles and 7 books. He received his BA degree in psychology from Ohio State University in 1973 and his PhD in psychology from the University of Michigan in 1977. Stanovich's 1986 article on the Matthew effects in reading has been cited over 1,500 times, and he has authored 30 other articles that have received over 100 citations. End quote. In the 1980s, it was common to classify readers in 2 ways: the garden variety poor reader, whose reading abilities were consistent with what their IQ would predict, regardless of whether the IQ was high or low, and IQ discrepant poor readers, whose reading ability was significantly lower than what their IQ would predict. Typically, IQ discrepant poor readers were identified as having dyslexia. Take a moment and jot this information down on your note-taking sheet. In research published in 1988, Stanovich argued that identifying dyslexic readers as IQ discrepant was not accurate. Instead, he argued that students with dyslexia did not have a discrepancy in their cognitive functioning, but rather with the phonological realm of processing, and this was the essence of his phonological core variable difference model. Stanovich argued that individuals with dyslexia have a deficit in their ability to hear and manipulate phonemes. These are referred to as phonological capabilities. Stanovich argued that this weakness in phonological capabilities did not necessarily connect to cognitive functioning. So individuals with dyslexia may have average cognitive functioning, but have weaknesses in the part of the brain that is able to process and manipulate sounds within words. Take a moment to transfer this information to your note-taking sheet. Arguably, Stanovich is most known for his research on the Matthew effect. You've probably heard of the Matthew effect before. Do you know what it is? Jot this down on your note-taking sheet. In 1986, Stanovich published a paper called Matthew Effects in Reading: Some Consequences of Individual Differences in the Acquisition of Literacy. An interesting fact is that this concept is based on the Bible verse Matthew 25:29, which says, "For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away." The Matthew effect states that students with phonemic awareness deficits are less likely to understand the sound-symbol relationship that is essential to being able to read. Since they have weaker decoding skills, they are exposed to less text in school, both because they cannot read it and because they may be pulled out of class to receive reading interventions, therefore exposing them to less text in class. Lack of text exposure leads to less language and vocabulary development and fewer opportunities to read, which leads to less content knowledge overall. Since these students are less successful with reading at a young age, they become discouraged and motivation begins to become an issue, and they begin to read even less. This decrease in time spent reading only further compounds their learning deficits, and their performance becomes even more discrepant from that of their on-level peers. Stanovich argued that this then leads to something called fan spread effects. Initially, the deficits are only related to phonological awareness, but then these issues begin to become more widespread and generalized across a student's academic career. Take a moment and jot down in your own words what the Matthew effect is on your note-taking sheet. Now take a moment and just think to yourself, what implications would the Matthew effect have on a student's life as a whole? Take another moment to write down your answer on your note-taking sheet. A study conducted in 2012 found that third graders who lack proficiency in reading are 4 times more likely to become high school dropouts. Stanovich's research highlights the importance of targeting phonological awareness deficits early so that these issues do not compound as the student's academic career goes on. Students who are identified as having deficits in phonological awareness should receive direct instruction daily to target the skills that the students are missing. Reading Recovery is one program that has been shown to have great effects in helping students gain skills in phonological awareness. It is important, especially for teachers of young readers, to watch out for, identify, and then advocate for students with deficits in manipulating sounds within words. The sooner these students are identified as having deficits, the sooner the targeted direct instruction can begin. For older students who may already be experiencing the Matthew effect, teachers still need to engage in direct instruction of the phonological awareness skills that their students are lacking. We also need to support these students in their reading progress and give them many opportunities for success. Early intervention for students with phonological deficits is also essential to avoid the Matthew effect. To close, write down a few ideas or things that you can do in your current position in order to prevent students from becoming victims of the Matthew effect. Thank you for watching.